Fazira, can go on.
Yes. Okay. Before I continue my part, can we take a 5 minutes break first? Because I want to make sure that we can upload our videos without having internet connection problem. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning that
Okay.
the recording is going to cut into two parts. Is that
Yeah.
yeah? Right. Okay.
Or you mean this session is recorded?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is
Yes.
recorded.
Or
For the
in
purpose
a video form or audio form?
video form, right? I think.
Okay.
Video.
I hope you
Yes.
don't mind sharing them with me later for my reference.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay. Now I'll continue recording for the second part.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it okay, Fazira? It,
Wait, it is still uploading.
okay.
Wait.
Oh, so it has to upload first, and then.
It has to load my files first,
Mhm.
and then I can continue with the second part of the recording.
Okay.
Fajira, but I am also recording, so no worries on that.
Okay. Okay. I think I'll continue with the third part of our topic today. So for my part, I'll be discussing on the um, religion and also the local traditions of the Bugis people. So as what have been mentioned before, the migration of the Bugis people to the Malay Peninsula has happened long before already. So I am interested about one thing. The process of have the Bugis people who migrated to the Malay Peninsula, have they embraced the religion of Islam before the migration, or they embraced the Islam religion after the migration process happened in the Malay Peninsula? And if they have already embraced the religion
Okay.
of okay, you can continue.
Okay. We know from written record. Okay. We know from various documentation and research that the Islamization of the Bugis people, they actually start as early as 16th century, late 16th century, and it was introduced by preachers and ulama that came from the Malay world, in particular from the Johor Kingdom, from the Patani Kingdom, and also from the Minangkabau Kingdom. One notable figure is, for example, Datuk Ri Bandang, who is a religious scholar that came from Minangkabau. Minangkabau, and Datuk Ri Bandang and his accomplices, they is known to be the one who converted the first Bugis ruler into Islam. Okay? And even then, one of the reasons why the Bugis kingdom in Sulawesi, they embraced Islam quite late compared to the counterpart in the Malay kingdom like Aceh, like the Johor kingdom. They have embraced Islam much earlier than that. This is primarily because of the central belief system in the Bugis right before the arrival of Islam was centered on animistic belief, you know, and and also this is known, this is documented in La Galigo, for example, and they claim that the Bugis people are descended from heaven, for example, and they believe that the Bugis people originated from the offspring of King Solomon and also Ratu Balkis. known in English as Princess Sheba. You know, so the Bugis
Yes.
people, they believe they were descended from this, and we know that from historical record that Princess Sheba is known to be half human and half jinn, half demon. And so because of this claim and because of this information, they subscribe before the 16th century. They subscribe to a very, I would say, complex socio-cultural and animistic belief that is deeply entrenched in the uh, rituals involving spirit, you know, involving spirit. So this is actually causes delay in having Islam to penetrate the Sulawesi kingdoms earlier. But after the 16th century, it is known that 95% of the Bugis tribe, other than the 5% who migrated out from the Islamic kingdom, 95% were already converted to Islam at that time. And it is also known that the Bugis tribe that migrated to the Peninsula Malaya is they were already Muslim, and even after settling down in the Tanah Melayu, they not only embrace the culture of the higher culture of the Malay, because as you know, in the Malay land, the Malay by definition is someone who is of Islamic religion and who profess the Malay culture, language, and the customs. So when the Bugis tribe migrated and settled in Tanah Melayu, they easily absorbed into that. So naturally, I would say that almost all, I would say all of the Bugis tribe that settled in Peninsula Malaya is and always been Muslim.
All right. Okay, thank you for the clarification. My second question, I think we'll move on to the lighter part of the discussion. So, my second question will be, are there any significant influence of the Buddhist traditions that we can see in the Malay cultural practices? Yes, that will be my question.
Mm, okay. First of all, we must because in the beginning part of my presentation, I mentioned of the timeline of the migration of the Bugis tribe.
Yes.
It spanned over 500 years, and you can see that in modern times, we can actually distinguish between the pure Bugis people and also the Malay Bugis people, which is already the hybrid of the Malay and the Bugis origin. So the pure Bugis people, they still maintain their culture, their language, their lifestyle, and these are the people who come as late as 19th century all the way up to the early 20th century. And they came here primarily because of cultivating land and also for business. And they can be predominantly found in Johor, especially in Pontian area, in Kuala Selangor. So these are, in our language, we call as Bugis Kotok. Bugis Kotok means the pure Bugis. And then we
Yes.
have the hybrid Melayu Bugis. And I am one of the Melayu Bugis, for example, because I am descended from both from my parents' side. I am descended from the Johor Riau Lingga Sultanate. So the Johor Riau Lingga Sultanate, as you know, is there was a complex socio-cultural division in the royal circle, a division between the Sultan lineage and also the Yang di-Pertuan Muda, also known as Viceroy. Okay? So I come from the Yang di-Pertuan Muda lineage, and the Yang di-Pertuan Muda lineage until now is actually a mix between the original Bugis explorers, the Bugis Five Brothers, and also the Malay princesses. Okay? So we proudly call ourselves Melayu Bugis. Even the name of our Persatuan is Melayu Bugis. So this Melayu Bugis, they no longer, most of us no longer speak the Bugis language. Okay? We no longer speak the Bugis language. We no longer practice the original Bugis culture. Okay, for example, marriage right and all of the cultural right, they are actually mostly fusion of Malay and Bugis culture. Actually.
I
So
see.
this you must
Okay.
be able to differentiate uh, if you want to talk about significant influence of the Bugis tradition. Lah. Okay, then over time, due to the intermarriage between the original Bugis tribe, the original migrant, so the original culture all increasingly fades from the mainstream Bugis lifestyle in Malaysia. And I will say that some of the Bugis influence that are still, I will say, inherent in our local culture. For example, the Bugis, they are known to have very elaborate premarital and marriage ceremonies, such as Rewang. Rewang is actually a Bugis culture, which is basically a practice where when a family is marrying off someone, someone in the household is getting married, the whole community will come together and actually distribute the chores and the work to contribute to a successful wedding. So this Rewang culture you can see even in the Malay kampung until today. But you
Yes.
know, this is also increasingly being forgotten because of the convenience of the modernities and such. Where people
Yes.
usually conduct wedding in hotel and just
Okay.
ask catering to do for the catering. So, and also another significant influence of the Bugis tradition today we can find in our culinary, in our cuisine. Okay? For example, there are various Malay cuisine that many people didn't realize is actually has origin in Bugis culture. For example, in the Bugis people, there's a type of food, a type of rice cake known as burasa. Okay? Burasa, the original name is burasa, but it is essentially a rice cake, and this rice cake has directly influenced the creation of nasi dagang of Terengganu. There is a story about how nasi dagang was the term was started in the 18th century when the Sultan visited the kitchen of the people of the Bugis settlement in Terengganu at that time. So if you Google this story, you can find it about how the origin of burasa and how it has influenced nasi dagang, for example. Also, some of the other Malay cuisine such as asam pedas ikan parang, this is also synonymous with the Bugis culture. Also, surrounding, in our culture we call it surrounding, but in the original Bugis language, we call berjabuk. Berjabuk is essentially grated coconut and basically desiccated coconut and grated and mixed with dehydrated ikan parang. Okay? So today we know this as a seronding that we eat with lemang and ketupat during our festivities. Also, another influence is the influence of Malay language into the spoken Bugis dialect in parts of Johor, and also inclusion of some of Bugis terms and vocabulary into the Malay language. One notable vocabulary is tabik. So always we the Malay people we say tabik tuan means to give respect to someone. Tabik is actually it's actually a Bugis language. So that is one of the examples that I can put. There are many others which I don't have access to now to tell you, but you can also find about this on the internet.
Yes.
Also, one of in my personal opinion, the major influence of the Bugis tradition in Malay culture is more on the non-material tradition. Earlier, I said the material traditions such as the marriage ceremonies, rituals, and all this, the the costume, for example, the costume that the people use, they have all been blended into the Malay culture so much that you actually cannot see any traces of Bugis origin already in their daily lifestyle. But the immaterial values, I will say, they are still inherent in our Malay culture. For example, there's the Bugis value of hard work, rajin. Hard work in the Bugis language, they know this to be the character known as reso. Reso. Also, shirik. Shirik in the Bugis language, in our culture, is known as shame or self-esteem. As you know, the Malay people, they are very shameful people. They are very shy, and always have a self-esteem. They don't mind not having any penny in the pocket as long as their dignity and self-esteem is not trampled upon. So this is the Malay culture which I believe partly inherited by the also influenced by the Bugis people. Also in the Bugis tradition, there is a tradition known as lempu, but in our language, in Malay language, we know as uh, kejujuran, honesty.
Yes.
So honesty, self-esteem, shame, and hard work, these are all the immaterial values and tradition that influence the Malay culture from the Bugis land. Which is why you can see that today, if you happen to speak to uh, many elders, Malay Bugis elders, or even people who claim to have some lineage to the Bugis uh, ancestors, they will probably claim and boast of their Bugis heritage, even though their Bugis lineage actually originated from their maternal side. So, so you see, so strong the influence of the Bugis pride and spirit that even a lot of Malay, especially Malay in if you go to Malay, if you talk to elders in Muar, Johor, Batu Pahat, and also in the coastal areas of Melaka, when we ask them, Uncle, actually, where are you who are you descended from? He will probably claim that, oh, I am Bugis. Uh, no, so this is one of the uh, what I will say uh, influence of the Bugis psyche in the Malay mind.
Into the Malay culture.
So that's why I
Yes.
can say lah about influence and influence.
Yes. I think that's all for my part. I'll continue. Liana will continue the next part.
Mhm.
Okay, for my part, okay, before that, can you hear me clearly because it's raining heavily here. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, based on my reading, the design, my part is about architecture design. Based on my
Mhm.
reading, the design of traditional Bugis houses, in Sulawesi is influences by the social owner home status. Like Bugis people have three social classes in general, namely
Mhm.
anak karung, Temadeka and Atta, and these every houses have different architecture, and also how to say this, they have different architecture. So my question is, does the architecture design of Bugis home influence the Malay state home in general?
Okay. Generally, I will say that uh, there is uh, there are major influence of the Bugis architectural tradition, because traditionally we know that in historical record that the architectural design of Bugis home, a typical Bugis home is compartmentalized into upper section and the middle section and the basement section. Okay. of which upper floor is used for food storage. The central section is for the family living quarters, and it is also where they have the guest quarters, the bedroom, and the dining kitchen area. And the basement part is for storage of agricultural tools and also livestock pens. And traditionally, the Bugis houses, they are built on stilts of about 1.6 to 2 meters of height. And when the migrants came to Peninsula Malaya, they also found that the local Malay people also adopt similar kind of construction. So I will say uh, the the influence of the Bugis construction, you can already find almost similar in present day and olden days Malay home construction, especially in the Bugis dominated area. Uh, I will say that in Malaysia today, it's very hard to find a full-fledged, genuine Bugis home that is in full compliance of the traditional architecture in Sulawesi. But I can share with you that one of our close associates from the Persatuan Bugis Johor, known as Cikgu Abdul Haji Ambo Intang, which I believe you have also tried to initiate communication with him. He himself and his family has built a full-fledged Bugis traditional house in Kerkat, yeah,
Yeah.
Johor. And this has been recognized and visited by various academic sectors and also visitors from inside and outside the country. Yeah. And this is recognized as one of the living full-blown Bugis house designed according to Bugis architecture. And other than that, I don't see, I have not find any other 100% Bugis architecture house in Malaysia. I will say that the Bugis architectural tradition is only influence the, the Malay architectural ideas. Okay?
Okay, Doctor, very clear. Thank you. I think we
Right?
can proceed to Aisha.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, semiconductor. My question is about the Buddhist community today. The Malay Buddhists have been assimilated to some contents. Do you think the Buddhist population will decline in the future as well as their traditional cultures? Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Okay. In answer to that, uh, uh, in reference also to my earlier answer on earlier question, as I said, the material culture may have well blended into the local social culture of the Malay, okay? But the non-material culture, such as the moral values, they are here to stay. Okay? These are the moral values such as dignity, honesty, and also, and as I said earlier, the Malay Bugis descendants, they take
Yes.
pride of their Bugis heritage despite from owning their heritage from the maternal side, from their mother's side. So, so because of this non-material culture that is already part of our Malay society, so I believe that the Bugis population will not decline, will never decline. Because the material, you can, material culture always can be part of a bygone era. For example, uh, in view of modernities and all, people forgo all the culture and tradition, and this is common not only in Bugis culture but also in other cultures such as even China, for example. So this is because of modernities and such. Okay, so I hope that answers.
Yes. Thank you. And my
Okay.
second question is that the five gender systems as
Mm-hmm.
a unique culture of Bugis.
Right.
Uh, should they respect and remain this culture or address the problem when contrast with the Islamic ideologies?
Okay.
Should they remain this culture?
So, mhm. So basically, I think as you may have also noted from various documentation about this unique system of five genders, back in Sulawesi, they were known to recognize five different genders. So one is the female form. Also, this characterized a strong Bugis woman known as Makun Rai. Also, the male form known as in the Bugis language known as Korowani, and also the what's the right term? Transvestite form. Here in Malaysia, we call it Pondan. So there's two types. One is the female form that imitates a man, known as Kalalai in the Bugis language, or in our local jargon we call Pengkit lah. Okay, woman who like to dress as men. Also, more common are the male who like to behave or dress as female, known in the Bugis language as Chalabit. Okay? Also in Malay language, in our jargon we call Pondan. But the fifth one is the most unique because of their tradition that recognize the position of the intersex. The intersex, also known in the Bugis language as Bisu. Okay? And the Bisu is said to be member the individual that has sexual organ. Two sexual organ. It actually embodies the male and female in one. In our Malay language, we call punta lah. In Arabic, we call punta. And this recognized in Islam also because Islam recognized that there are people born as punta, but Islam also, as you know, I may not be expert to talk about the law, but generally I can say Islam also has delineated how we should treat people who were born with such problem. Okay, okay. So basically, the Bisu or the intersex people of the Bugis tribe, they traditionally they were the priests of in the pre-Islamic belief system and rituals of the Bugis culture. They are regarded as embodiment of male, female, mortal, and deity combined because of having two genitals. You see, in the Nusantara folklore, a lot of culture regard the heaven as mother and the earth as mother. So, for example, you can find in various Nusantara culture the the term such as ibuku bumi, bapakku langit means literally means that the earth is my mother and the sky is my father. So in Bugis culture, it is said that this Bisu or the intersex, they are the best medium to communicate and to convey any form of prayers or communication between the two worlds. That is between the heaven and also between the earth. And as I also said earlier, this tradition is also one of the reasons for the late acceptance of Islam to the Bugis kingdom in the 15th century because of opposition by the Bisu community, which in the pre-Islamic time they played a major role in in influencing the palace rite and also palace culture. So, if you ask me about how should we respect and remain this culture in regard to Islam, I will say that it is known that the Bisu over the recent years they tried to adapt Islamic values in their ritual. This is just to demonstrate their belief in God's destiny of their faith. Because they always say that we didn't ask to be born as a bisu, but it was created by God. It's the destiny of God. So in adapting to that, some bisu try to adapt Islamic values in their ceremonies. For example, they use Islamic prayers and incantation in their ritual using Quranic verses and making salawat to the Prophet, etc. However, this complex value of this Bugis tradition and versus the Islamic teaching always actually they don't share common stronghold because primarily in the Quran and also the Hadith tradition there are various mentions about how the Prophet and Allah condemn the people who imitate the other genders. Okay? And also our religion, Islam, also condemns the practice of uh, what do you call it, LGBT, yeah, LGBT kind of activities such as homosexualism, lesbian, and things like that. So, if you ask my personal opinion, I will say that the Bisu tradition, from record, we know that it has been around for about 600 years in Bugis culture. Whereas we have the Islamic tradition since the time of Prophet Muhammad, we have until now it is already 1500 years. So it is a question of which one you should put as priority, a proven and established set of teaching that is 1500 years old, or you want to subscribe to a 600 years old animistic system of belief, of worship. So to me, it's a question of which one of the two is the more priority in life as a Muslim. That's all I can say lah about my opinion on the matter.
Thank you, Dr. So much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Huzaifah, for the very extensive discussion. I think we all really enjoyed it. Your explanation, because it really goes beyond to what we have we have find on the internet. Because obviously, the records and documentation, even though about Bugis, even though there are some on available, but it is not very extensive. So moreover, it is hard for us to understand just by reading. And when you explain it, it just connects the dots of all the information that we have learned and to gain better understanding about Bugis community and the Bugis history in general. So we are really thankful for that again, Mr. Zaifa. So before I think we end our discussion, is there any final remarks from Dr. Huzaifah that you want to give? Closing.
Mm, I think I have basically said it all. May I ask if you who else you would have spoken to? I mean, people of the Bugis authorities or other individuals?
Other than our lecture, then it is only you. So.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Because actually there are, I would say, more qualified people to talk about Bugis culture lah. Some of them are my peers and associates. For example, in Selangor itself, we have uh, Encik Romazi. Okay, you want to take note of his name. Encik Romazi, he belongs to Persatuan Melayu Bugis Selangor, and he leads an NGO known as Citra Ugi. And he is one whom was always sought after by various circles to do presentation about Bugis culture lah. But whether he can give you information in English or not, that you have to find out lah. Also, as I mentioned earlier, in Johor, there are individuals such as Cikgu Abdul Hadi Ambok Intang, who belong to Persatuan Bugis Johor, he is also he happens to be a school teacher, and he is also a credible source of information about Bugis culture and tradition. I would say the Cikgu Abdul Hadi of Johor, he represents more of the pure Bugis for the Bugis Kotor, because he himself is the generation from the 19th century immigrant. Okay. Whereas for Rumadi, he represents basically all of them, the pseudo Malay Bugis and also the pure Bugis. For I myself, as I said earlier, I only represent the Melaka Malay Bugis community, and it happens because I am also an amateur. I'm not a professional one. Amateur historical researcher. I also even actually my my doctoral dissertation earlier was on Bugis hegemony. So when I got the interview question, so it actually clicked in place lah. So a lot of the materials were already part of the subject that I have researched in the past. So other than that, I I think I have nothing else to share on the subject. I would like to please apologize if there are any shortcomings on my answer, especially in the use of English language, which is not my primary spoken language. Please apologize for my shortcoming on that. And hope you all become successful in whatever you are doing and in your studies.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Dr.